ocean. Now we shall have some, not conversation, but monologue together. Very early I was fascinated by sleeping waters, by fire shows above waters, and I must say that if one day I decide to die, certainly it will be in a very cold water, sleeping warm, like Moors. And it's like that one day I discovered that reflecting in the waters there is something, eventually the moon. The white was so fascinating. I wanted to discover many things white like that. Maybe it is the reason why I loved so much, so early, architecture and tomb architecture. Because it was so many, as many new moons all over a graveyard. I do love this repetition of white masses, like maybe white skulls or white moons. Or it's a question of inner rhythm. I suppose it is at the same period I've been considered a little like crazy, like mad. My parents have been a little frightened because they didn't know if it was a newborn poet or a new mad. And I tried that one day I was nearly letting myself drown into a river in Touraine. My brother wasn't here, fortunately, and helping me to get off. But I was so well in water, in cold water. I'm in love with coldness. Maybe it's a reason too, for the fascination for all the death aspects. The stone, the marble, the night, the wind. And I discovered very quickly, very early, even I was very little dressed, even in full winter, when it's frozen everywhere, when I'm appealed in a way during the night, I never caught cold at all. Well, I can catch cold in full summer. But when I feel the cold inside me, I'm belonging to the cold, to the night, and don't fear it at all. Some people, maybe some ancient lovers, saw me in my dress, as you know it, the black or the white one in silk. It was less 10 degrees under zero, like that, without coat, happy to be there, with the heat in the cheeks. But if I'm surprised before the day, at the light in the morning in the cemetery, in this dress, I can catch cold at the very moment. At down, it's always at the same time a crazy time to me, a crazy hour. Well, I feel it really as a time of coming back and sleeping. So for a while, when I was between 15 and 20, I was living all the time on the contrary from the other people. And it was such an it was an exaltation for me to feel that I had not the same feelings at all than the other people. When they were chilly, I was hot. At the contrary, that I could not prevent from leaving it till the end. And I remember that one night, I don't say one day, one night, it was into rain, and I went to a cemetery, not of the village, of another one, and I went by foot. And imagine at least 5 miles. But when I spend a night in a cemetery, I change energies. I'm nourished, I'm fed with the energy of the place, but I give by myself quite a lot, very differently. It's to say that I'm worn out in the morning, and in fact I fell asleep on a tomb, or beside a tomb, if I remember, on the grass, between 2 tombs. And I've been awakened by some people crying out in the field somewhere a little after. It awakened me, frightened me in a way, because, well, we're in bad posture in a way. And I was so cold, so stiff, and at the same time I could not catch any illness. I felt it. I was surprised, and above all I was very deeply touched by the idea of it could be some illness. And imagine if one day I was like that and people think I'm dead. They bury me. So I told the people I could around me, not my parents, but the lover at the moment, saying him that he must look after me. If eventually people think I'm dead, he must look after that and verify. You're not so sure. But I must say, I must tame the devil not so much. It was a period. Now I go for being hot and not cold. I realized too that the energy I was giving was much more important than I received. And I was a little like vampirized by what? I don't know. The place, the idea of the place, the spirit, the mind of the place. All the dead? I'm not so sure. They are sleeping very quietly. But some, or eventually all the ideas, the living ones, pushed to this place. I'm not so sure it is not the living ones who are in a way vampirizing me for the sake of their legends or their dead or themselves. Maybe is it a place for the living ones to feed on something else? It's a question to study eventually. I kiss you and I see you in a moment. And if I've been allured so much by night, I suppose it was on the invitation of my animals too, because it was their time. And the first time I went to the garden, to the end of the garden by night, by moonlight I must say, which is more impressive, my cat followed me, showed me all the paths, the way, his familiarity with all the trees, like big ghost. And I discovered that not to be afraid no more by night, which is, which is the great fright the parents give you. My only defense was to not to be afraid anymore of the night. And how that? By belonging to the night. So I suppose that from that day I began, even around 8, 9, 10, to study, that is to say, to read books on night subject. That is to say, I discovered the big secrets of a Bijoulieu, I discovered radiesthesia, I discovered astrology, magics, and so on. For me it was the reverse of the medal, the other side of the world. This world was so little now interesting me because of the family situation, and I prefer the other side. It was my secret world where I was sure not to be not too unhappy. While officially my parents are very sweet, we were a very perfectly united family and all was okay. Well, it depends what is happening in the mind. I suppose that this suffering period was the beginning of everything, and I thank the God, or the devils, in the plural, to have given me that sort of ordeal. It has awakened my instincts, sensibility, and a special sort of intelligence I prefer to the mathematical intelligence. So I don't read many things, but essentially things essential. And since that time, somnambulism stopped. But the turn has been given to ghost and physical appearances. I saw my first ghost around 8 at the corner of my room. I suppose it was maybe a dead or a living, the double of a living one. The importance, well, the importance is that I was very much frightened but very much interested too. And sometimes after, the light at the ceiling of my room was lighting off and on and off and on continuously till the moment I was completely awakened to see it, completely frightened, and the phenomenon stopped. I suppose it is a psychokinesist phenomenon. Well, it was in a way some stones all along the path to signal me that I had to continue, something interesting was happening to me.